Did Taehyung's birthday quietly become a Taekook moment? And why does Jungkook always appear in the most important frames? Was it really just a birthday celebration? Or did something far more intimate quietly unfold in those 20 seconds that set the global fandom on fire? When the lights dimmed into a violet glow, when laughter broke the silence, and when Kim Taehyung leaned forward to blow out the candles on December 30th, 2025, one question began to ripple across timelines faster than the birthday wishes themselves. Why was Jungkook there again? So close, so natural, so consistently present, exactly where the emotional gravity was strongest. This is not a rumor dressed as news. This is an observation that refuses to fade, a pattern that fans have noticed, debated, denied, and then noticed again. In nearly every significant moment of Taehyung's public life, Jungkook is not loud, not centered, not demanding attention, but always within the frame. And on this night, during what should have been a simple reunion birthday after years of military separation, that quiet consistency spoke louder than any speech. The video uploaded by fan account at Archive40 on X did not arrive with drama attached. There was no headline, no caption attempting to guide interpretation. Yet within minutes, the clip spread with breathtaking speed. 20 seconds. Neon purple light. A dark room. 7 silhouettes moving in unison. A cake. Candles. A surprised smile from Taehyung that felt unguarded in a way fans hadn't seen for years. And there, unmistakably, Jungkook, close enough to be felt, not far enough to be accidental. Why does this matter now? Why did this birthday feel different from every celebration before it? And why did fans almost immediately stop talking about the cake, the laughter, even the long-awaited reunion, and start asking a quieter but sharper question? When Taehyung stands at the center of something emotional, why does Jungkook always seem to be standing right beside him? To understand why this moment hit with such force, one must first understand the silence that preceded it. BTS had spent years apart, fragmented by mandatory military service that ended for the group in mid-2025. The separation was not only physical but emotional, a long pause in shared routines that once defined their brotherhood. When they returned, fans expected celebration, noise, spectacle. What they received instead, in this birthday moment, was restraint, intimacy, familiarity that did not need explanation. The room itself told a story. Dim lighting washed in purple neon evoked nostalgia, recalling earlier eras when BTS celebrated birthdays in cramped practice rooms or backstage corners before stadiums and world tours. The members appeared relaxed, dressed casually, as if the cameras were an afterthought rather than a performance. Taehyung's reaction was not exaggerated. He did not perform gratitude. He simply smiled, wide and genuine, the way someone does when surrounded by people who know him beyond the stage persona. Then came the frame that stopped fans mid-scroll. Jungkook, standing within arm's reach, neither pushing forward nor fading into the background, not calling attention to himself, not speaking over others, just there. Again, some fans were quick to point out the numbers. Over 25,000 likes, thousands of reposts, hundreds of thousands of views in mere hours. But metrics alone do not explain why comment sections shifted tones so dramatically. Underneath the celebratory messages and trending hashtags like #HappyBirthday and #HappyBirthdayTaehyung, a different kind of commentary began to surface. It was subtle at first, phrased as curiosity rather than conclusion. Why does Jungkook always look like he's guarding the moment? One fan asked. Another wrote, "It's not loud, but it's always there." Is this how emotional bonds reveal themselves, not through declarations, but through consistency? The idea that Taehyung and Jungkook share a unique emotional connection is not new. What is new is how unmistakable it feels now, stripped of choreography, promotions, and scripted content. This birthday was not a stage. It was a room. And in that room, patterns that could once be dismissed as coincidence suddenly felt deliberate. Consider the context. Taehyung's birthday message, shared in the comments, carried a tone of gratitude that felt deeply personal. He wrote about being well taken care of by the members and friends, about happiness that did not feel performative. He ended with a forward-looking promise, hoping to spend the next year together with ARMY. It was a message of return, of continuity, of relationships that survived distance and time, and yet, fans noticed what was not said as much as what was. No singled out names.
No overt references.
But the video had already spoken. The body language had already told a story that words did not need to confirm. Why is Jungkook's presence in Taehyung's major moments so quiet, yet so consistent? Why does it never feel staged? And why, after years of analysis, does it still resist simple explanation? Part of the answer may lie in how both artists have matured. Jungkook, once known as the group's youngest, has grown into a figure of calm stability. His public demeanor post-military service has been notably grounded, less reactive, more observant. Taehyung, known for his expressive artistry, has also shifted, embracing moments of introspection and emotional subtlety. When these two energies intersect, the result is not explosive, it is steady. That steadiness is precisely what fans are responding to in nearly every major Taehyung-centric moment. Award shows, live broadcasts, behind-the-scenes footage, and now this birthday reunion, Jungkook appears not as a focal point but as an anchor. He does not pull attention toward himself. Instead, he seems to hold space, allowing Taehyung to exist fully in the moment without interruption. That not a different kind of intimacy? Theories, of course, began to emerge almost immediately. Some fans described their bond as silent but constant. Others noted how Jungkook often positions himself physically close to Taehyung without overt gestures, as if proximity itself is the language. Still others cautioned against overinterpretation, reminding everyone that BTS is built on deep friendships that cannot be reduced to pairings. Yet even those voices acknowledged something difficult to dismiss. This pattern has survived years. It has survived scrutiny. It has survived separation. Why now does it feel more visible than ever? Perhaps because absence has sharpened perception. The military hiatus forced fans to confront how much they missed not just the music, but the interactions, the unscripted moments that revealed the group's emotional architecture. When BTS reunited, fans were not just watching for announcements of albums or tours rumored for 2026. They were watching for signs of continuity. For proof that the bonds remained intact, this birthday video provided that proof in the quietest way possible. It is also impossible to ignore how international media and global fans responded emotionally rather than analytically. Comments like "We are so back" were not about schedules or content. They were about feeling. About recognizing something familiar and comforting after years of uncertainty, and in that recognition, Taekook emerged not as a headline, but as a question. Could it be that some bonds do not need to be named to be understood? Could it be that Jungkook's repeated presence in Taehyung's emotional frames is less about intention and more about instinct? The surprise of this moment lies in its restraint. There was no dramatic embrace captured on camera, no whispered exchange amplified by microphones. And yet, the emotional impact was undeniable. Sometimes the strongest signals are the ones that refuse to announce themselves. As speculation grows around BTS's activities in 2026, including a potential new album or world tour, this birthday reunion has taken on symbolic weight. It was not a comeback stage, yet it felt like a return. Not just of 7 artists, but of the dynamics that made them resonate so deeply with millions. What does it say when fans across cultures, languages, and time zones lock onto the same detail within seconds of a video being posted? What does it mean when that detail is not flashy, not controversial, but simply consistent presence? Perhaps this is why the moment feels so emotional. It reminds fans that BTS's power has never been solely about spectacle. It has always been about connection between members and between the group and ARMY. Taehyung's birthday did not need to become a Taekook moment. And yet, for many, it did. Not because anyone declared it so, but because the frame spoke for itself. As the candles went out and laughter filled the room, one truth lingered in the glow of purple light. Some stories do not shout to be heard. They wait patiently, repeating themselves across time, until finally, everyone notices, and so the question remains, unresolved but impossible to ignore. When Taehyung stands at the center of his most meaningful moments, Why does Jungkook always seem to be right there? And what does that quiet consistency tell us about the bonds that survived the silence? This is not the end of the story. It may not even be the beginning. But it is a reminder that in BTS, the smallest frames often carry the deepest weight, and sometimes the most powerful emotions are the ones that never ask for attention, yet somehow steal it anyway. And as the clip looped endlessly across timelines, something unusual happened within the fandom's collective consciousness. The discussion did not burn out after a few hours, as viral moments often do. Instead, it deepened. Fans began pulling threads from memory, not to sensationalize, but to understand why this particular scene felt heavier than it appeared. Why did a simple birthday surprise, filmed in a dimly lit room, feel like a quiet revelation? The answer may lie in what the camera did not intend to capture. In the video, Jungkook does not step forward when the candles are lit. He does not clap louder than the others. He does not speak. Yet his posture, his stillness, and his proximity create a visual gravity that draws the eye almost subconsciously. It is the kind of presence that is felt before it is noticed, and once noticed, cannot be unseen. This is precisely why fans describe the bond not as dramatic, but as consistent. Consistency, after all, is harder to fake than emotion. Over the years, BTS content has been dissected frame by fans who understand the difference between performance chemistry and lived-in familiarity. What stood out in this birthday moment was not interaction, but alignment. Jungkook and Taehyung moved in sync without coordination, reacting at the same pace, turning toward the same focal point, sharing the same quiet smile when Taehyung blew out the candles. These micro-moments, often invisible to casual viewers, are what longtime fans recognize as markers of deep emotional attunement. Is it coincidence that these markers resurface again and again when Taehyung is at the emotional center of a moment? Looking back, fans began revisiting earlier milestones with fresh eyes. Award nights where Taehyung appeared overwhelmed and Jungkook instinctively closed the distance. Live broadcasts where Taehyung spoke less, and Jungkook subtly mirrored his energy rather than filling the silence. Even group photos where positioning seemed unplanned, yet resulted in the same spatial closeness. None of these moments were definitive on their own. Together, however, they form a pattern that resists dismissal. What makes this pattern so compelling now is the timing. The military era changed BTS. Not in terms of bond strength, but in how those bonds are expressed. Distance stripped away excess. What remained was what mattered. When the members reunited, there was no need to reassert closeness through words or gestures. The comfort was already there. Taehyung's birthday became the first time fans saw that comfort expressed without a stage, without choreography, without an agenda, and that is where the emotional shock landed. For many ARMY, especially those who followed BTS from their early years, this moment felt like a return to something almost forgotten. The raw intimacy of 7 young men navigating life together before the world grew so loud. The purple lighting, intentional or not, echoed the color long associated with trust and love between BTS and ARMY. The symbolism felt accidental, yet perfect. Could it be that the reason Jungkook's presence stands out is precisely because he is not trying to stand out? In fan discussions, one phrase appeared repeatedly: he's always there when it matters.
Not when it trends.
Not when it sells. When it matters. This distinction is crucial. BTS has never lacked dramatic moments. But this was not drama. It was reassurance. Taehyung himself seemed to acknowledge this emotional undercurrent without naming it. His message of gratitude emphasized care, togetherness, and the hope of shared time in the future. There was no urgency, no hype. Just contentment. And perhaps that is why fans read it as confirmation rather than commentary. The global response, particularly from fans in Indonesia and across Asia, reflected this emotional reading. Trending hashtags were celebratory, but beneath them lay a softer tone: relief, warmth, nostalgia. It was less about shipping narratives and more about witnessing something genuine survive time apart. Still, questions persist. Why does Jungkook's quiet presence resonate more strongly than overt gestures from others? Why does it trigger theories rather than closure? And why does the fandom return to this pairing whenever Taehyung appears emotionally vulnerable or reflective? One possible answer is balance. Taehyung's emotional expression often leans toward introspection, artistry, and sensitivity,